Crazy Conspiracy Theories, Part 2. So if you haven't watched Part 1, make sure you do that because Part 2 is interesting as well. It's the concept of the elite being fascinated with reincarnation. It's a pretty interesting subject on its own, but they seem to have a fascination with it, and you always see a lot of it in movies. Sometimes it's subtle, sometimes it's more overt. A subtle example I'll give you is from the movie I discussed previously. That was Heart of Stone. When the character of Gal Gadot overcomes her antagonist, let's put it that way, his like dying words or maybe in the next life. And her response was, "I'll see you when I get there." I was like, my last words, right? Like, if you think about just right, in the space that we're in, my last words is somebody that just took me out on like my dying breath. I just don't think that's what it would be, right? Maybe in the next life. But if that is like a concept that is held strongly among them, then yeah, you would probably see it in something and not really pick it up. Now there's the other type, which is basically recreating yourself, right? Like if there's a version of you, or the current version you feels like, I could be doing more, right? This is Monday, so try to give you some motivation. You feel like you could be doing more in whatever capacity. You extrapolate that to whatever you want to apply it to, basically, whether it's at your job, pursuing your own, your own craft, whatever that is, IT, sports, whichever field. And you feel like, sometimes it's hard to motivate yourself. So you kind of, that self, in order for you to move up, you kill that self off, essentially. Right? It felt like this version of you is holding you back, so you had to like cut ties and move up. And if you watch, a good example of that is Six Underground, right? With what's his name? Ryan Reynolds, right? He plays this character who's a billionaire, and my bad. He plays a character who's a billionaire, and he's at some sort of like meet and greet where he's just like, sort of pretend working, helping out. Like he's not really into it. He's more doing it because he can, and it's just like, all right, I got all this money, I can do this. But while he's there, there is an airstrike and it's a gas attack. I hope I'm not spoiling it for anybody that hasn't seen it. But there's an airstrike, it's a gas attack, and people are, dropping left and right like flies. And that is like a turning point for him where even though he achieved like all this massive success, right, apparently, because at that point you don't really know what he's been doing, but it's obvious he's wealthy. So even that version of him that was wealthy, able to do all he wanted to do, have a good time, he still had to kill off that version of himself to be. It's like the dynamic between Bruce Wayne and Batman, right? So he liked being Bruce Wayne until he felt like, all right, this version of me is not working. I gotta do something different. All this money, I gotta make a change, essentially. I don't know what percentage of people who are probably young and have that kind of wealth would think about doing that, but it is an interesting concept. if you had this massive amount of wealth, how could you really, do the greatest good? Is it like, this guy in an office contributing, or maybe you could do things a little differently? I don't know. But it's an interesting concept, either way. And, you see it and you don't really pay attention to it, right? You don't put any depth to it because, it's part of the movie, but there's, layers between layers. And again, back to, right, programming language. And, what is it that you're picking up? What's the subliminal message, right? Or what's the layered meaning, right? Could be a double entendre. It could be this or it could be that. And, I only bring it up because it's like, some people say these things about different things, whether it's movies or music and, things like that. But you have to admit there is some validity to it, depending on how you look at it. So, I don't know what you think. All right? Could be, subtle jabs at that lower self that's kind of dragging you down, trying to make you go up, right? Like telling you, hey, you need to do better, right? In whatever capacity that is. That's not always financial. It could be being a better parent, better, as I said, at your craft, music, basketball, football, whatever. Instead of being a person that's saying that they want to get there, but not really about that. Not going to the gym, things like that, right? Yeah. Change that mindset up and go do it. And I think those were all subtle messages within. But you have to watch it to see it. And if you don't get it, maybe watch it again and just, really listen to what's being said. Process it. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed the video. Drop a comment, tell me what you think, and, share it with someone that might be interested. I'm out.